Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Honorable Excellencies, delegates, and civil society partners, good morning. Thank you for organizing this hearing. In the name of Gestos and the Brazilian Association of NGOs, as the national hub of the campaign Beyond 2015, I would like to share some ideas on innovative finance in a context of an over-financialized and highly concentrated global economy. The commitment to official development assistance is a key element in promoting partnerships and should be fulfilled. But there is a specific need to design binding agreements to try and solve the financing side of the Sustainable Development Goals implementation. As data shows, in the aftermath of the last financial meltdown, philanthropic and voluntary contributions have reduced for the past 5 years. To give you an example related to the unmet Millennium Development Goals number 6, a report by funders concerned about AIDS shows that in 2013, the private voluntary funds decreased by 8% to $592 million. This amount represents 3% of total global AIDS financing that still has most resources coming from national budgets. Even so, according to the 2013 ECLAC report, in all countries of Latin America, the internal resources are not sufficient to finance national development, especially in countries facing extreme and high poverty rates. It calls for a progressive tax system worldwide and for the implementation of innovative financing mechanisms for development, such as global taxes and especially the financial transaction taxes. That's the ECLAC report. At the recent ECLAC Finance for Development regional consultation in Santiago, just 3 weeks ago, the Vice President of the Brazilian Development Bank raised an important point. Quote, "The world lives a unique type of economic situation. It has excess of liquidity," unquote. Therefore, one of our many challenges is that in order to eradicate poverty and substantially reduce inequalities, we need to tap into such accumulated wealth. According to the Bank of International Settlements, the world financial system has a notional value of more than 70 times the size of global GDP. The derivatives market alone has 11 times more value than the world economy. The currency market by itself moves daily an average $4.3 trillion. What is concerning to us, citizens around the world, is that with all this money out there, except for a few Latin American countries, inequality has been steadily growing, including the countries with high rate of public debt that have adopted austerity measures. Furthermore, we know by now that the growth of inequality have the special help of regressive tax systems, flawed economic theory, and perhaps a lack of political will. The Finance for Development Conference should mark the beginning of a post-2015 era, an era where we can speak about economic democracy. It is time for governments to get back to the driving seat of development and fulfill their sovereignty duties by enforcing the state power of taxation to regulate, monitor, and raise resources from the overblown financial system through the implementation of national and multi-jurisdictional financial transactions taxes, as well as promoting national progressive tax models. In this regard, we welcome the work of the leading group on innovative financing for development, and we especially welcome the inclusion of financial transaction taxes in the Finance for Development Zero Draft document in paragraph 62. It should stay there, for it is an instrument that, besides raising systemic revenues, can help to curb illicit capital flows. The future we want requires large sums of resources. The UN Environmental Programme estimates that the SDGs means of implementation will demand additional $6 trillion yearly. To put in perspective, in 2013, the net ODA was about $134 billion. And again, using the example of the MDG 6, UNAIDS reports that $35.6 billion are needed per year to end AIDS. But in 2013, the total invested was $19 billion, showing a current gap of more than $15 billion yearly. This indicates that to guarantee funds for a transformative agenda will require systemic flow of resources, and that is not secured only by short-term private interests or voluntary assistance. Also, A smart investment for long-term sustainable development will be key, but it will require a paradigm shift on resources allocation. Investments should place people in the center and must be based on their core needs, echoing the voice from the representative of Japan that just spoke. For instance, a study by the High-Level Task Force for ICPD shows that for every dollar invested in gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls, there might be a return of $120. I cannot think about a better way to get more bang for the buck in the long term. Reality check is that we cannot afford the cost of wrong choices or inaction. Excellencies, the opportunity is upon you to commit to an FfD outcome that may contribute to the rise of a future global economic democracy. Thank you.